There are a lot of ways to win a fantasy football league in 2024, any year, really. And I think people underrate quarterbacks every single year. And a lot of people have this notion that because the QB pool is so deep, that there's no reason to go QB fishing in the middle rounds. You should just wait for a duo like, even Dak Prescott. I mean, he played like a top 4 quarterback last year. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going down that avenue, but this is not a game of give me the leftovers. Fantasy football should never be left to other people to determine who you get. And because the quarterback position is so dominating, because you can have the number 1 overall scorer potentially in the entire thing, all of fantasy football 2024, sitting here at certain value ranges that are just head-scratchingly crazy, there's no reason to keep kicking the can down the road and say, well, the value's so good, the QB pool's so deep. Look, I could get Purdy, I could get Kyler, who are values. We'll go over Kyler's value too. There's no reason to say you can't take a Josh Allen still, even though he's the number 1 quarterback. We'll go over why. I love Josh Allen. I love Jalen Hurts. You should have shares of all kinds of different options. You should not be beholden to one quarterback approach. I think this video is going to highlight the values right here. We're definitely going to cover them. But I think you're also going to come away with Smitty wants you to diversify your quarterback portfolio. Smitty wants you to get Hurts, get Josh Allen, get a bunch of shares of everybody, and do it live. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
There's no reason to ever pigeonhole or put yourself in a box when it comes to quarterback drafting in 2020. I'm gonna switch back to the old. These blue light blocking glasses are cool and all. Sometimes in the evening, I like them, but these are a little bit better for the daytime. There's definitely not a exact science with quarterback drafting. I think what it comes down to ultimately, before we even begin, it comes down to when you're on the clock and you ask yourself who's the best player available. Does it stand out to go quarterback? Because if it does, if this is round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we know that Mahomes is going in round number 5, you've got to ask yourself, when on the clock, are you taking Mahomes or are you punting and trying to get Joe Burrow in round 7? And Joe Burrow in round 7 is one of the best values in all of fantasy football. We'll talk about that in a second. And Joe Burrow is going as 73 overall. Anthony Richardson, 60 overall. Jordan Love, 83 overall. You get Jordan Love in this territory right here, you can win a league. There's no doubt about it. But the question is, every time you're on the clock and you're in round 3 and you dip right into round 4 and you're sitting right here and Hurts is sitting right here, or you're right here and Josh Allen falls into this 3rd round, you can't even read this chicken scratch by the time I get to it. Allen's in round 3. Hurts is in round 4. You're sitting here and you're not loving the options that are also available. Then you go Hurts, you go Allen. You go with the player that arguably could outscore every single player in fantasy football. So make no mistake about it, it is about best player available still. It always will be. And that's what should make you go down these different roads. Now, if you go down the road of saying, hey, Smitty, I'm sitting here in round 3 and I can't believe my eyes. This player's here that I absolutely love in round 3, and Derrick Henry somehow fell to this pick right here, and I need a running back pretty bad. He feels best player available. I'm taking an amazing player here. I'm taking an amazing player here. I still don't have a quarterback yet. That's fine as long as these feel like absolute wins. Maybe this is a wide receiver. Or maybe this is Laporta. Maybe you want to go Laporta and dominate the tight end scoring in your format. So Laporta, You snag Laporta right here in round 3, at the tail end of round 3. You take Derrick Henry at 4. You haven't gone quarterback yet. That's when these players we're about to talk about come into the equation, and when I think you should pull the trigger on these said players. So let's start off with that and just say we love Allen. We love Josh Allen. We love Jalen Hurts. And when we look at Josh Allen's stats, I'll tell you a couple things that will blow your mind. This guy finished as, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. QB 20 in week 1. That put him off on a bad start. QB 7 in week 2. QB 8. QB 1. QB 2. QB 13. QB 4. QB 2. QB 4. QB 15. QB 5. QB 1. Bye week. QB 9. 17. 2. 6. And 4. 3 times he was outside the top 15. 4 times he was outside the top 10. It was an unbelievable year. 13 top 10 finishes, 9 top 5 finishes. Unbelievable. 7 top 10 finishes from week 9 on. His last 10 weeks, he had 7 top 10 finishes. There's no reason at all to be acting like Josh Allen is a bad pick in this territory right here. You get Josh Allen anywhere in here, you can win a league by it. But, so we love that. I want you to know I'm all about drafting Josh Allen. Should you find values that make you punt quarterback, let's get into those, guys. We got a bunch of people in here. Appreciate everybody here. Hit that thumb up button on the way in the door. I got Smooth Criminal as first in the building. I've got Bare Bones in here. I got Calvin. I got Aldi. I got D-Town. I got Grizzly. I got Thomas. I got Matt O. Appreciate you all. Hit that thumb up button on the way in the door. So, taking a look at the value quarterbacks. Not saying not to draft those guys. Who do I love? I love Stroud at 50. Mahomes at 52. Stroud at 50. These are probably the 2 most glaring values because these guys belong in the same category and round as Hurts and Josh Allen. I think because Mahomes had such a bad year, and he really did. Like, we can't sugarcoat that. If I'm going to spit out stats, let me spit out the Mahomes stats because they're bad. He was QB. He was in the top 5 twice, and he was in the top 10 5 times. And he was outside the top 10 11 times. That's not a really good year. We know that. But can I just go out on a limb and say I don't think he's going to produce that kind of line again in 2024? Can I be as bold as to say, hey, let's go back and look at his 2022 numbers, the year prior to last year, and what would that have measured up to? It would have measured up to QB1 or QB2 in this data we're looking at from 2023. He would be right there with Josh Allen for the most, top 10 finishes, top 5 finishes in the final 9 games, most top 10 and most, top 5 finishes. He would have been across the board the QB 1 or 2 overall. I have no doubt or concern about Mahomes bouncing back. He gets Hollywood Brown now. Rashee Rice may or may not be there. We don't really know, but I'm confident enough in Hollywood and the fact that given the Rashee Rice problems and how deep this wide receiver pool is, the rookie pool in 2024 in the NFL draft class, that the Kansas City Chiefs are going wide receiver here, or they'll fill some spots and have a plethora of options to maybe roll with. I mean, you could get a Malachi Corley or a Ricky Parasol, a Leggett. You could get so many players that we absolutely love in this draft class that if you slap one of those wide receivers right here in KC alongside a Hollywood Brown, Kelsey, Pacheco, there's no reason Mahomes can't have one of his best seasons he's ever had, especially with the shorter field, better field position. Andy Reid's going to tear this new field position advantage up. I really believe it. If we get to a point where Mahomes is on the board in the 5th round and I don't have a quarterback yet, how in the hell am I passing it up? If Mahomes is gone and Stroud's there and I'm there in the mid-5th round, how in the hell am I passing it up? Now, Stroud, I know everyone wants to jump on the Stroud train. I'm very excited about Stroud. He's certainly top 5 capable. I'm not even in Dynasty moving him up because of the Diggs situation. And in redraft, I'm barely moving him. I'm keeping him right where he was. He's right around 5 or 6 for me. You could argue 4. I'm not gonna be against that. But Stroud had, some ups and downs last year, and granted, he should have, right? He's not experienced yet. He's coming in doing amazing things for his first run. I mean, his rookie year was unbelievable, but it's not like he has the makings of being Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. It's not like he's taking over the 1 spot just because we're excited about his rise. It's an exciting player to watch. He's a good football player. He can be top 5, 6 in fantasy. But Stroud had if I read off all of his games, I'm going to read them off. Week 1, 22, QB 22. Week 2, 13. Week 3, 12. Week 4, 10. Week 5, 17. Week 6, 12. Bye week, 23, 1. That was great. 9, 13, 4, 15, 30. Didn't play. 23, 7. So 11 times outside the top 10, 2 top 5 finishes, 4 top 10 finishes. Pretty good. But that's not Josh Allen, where Josh Allen literally had 13 top 10 finishes out of 17 games. 9 top 5 finishes out of 17 games. Josh Allen's a monster. And it is important to grab Josh Allen in the bottom third or top of 4 if he's available, and not say, oh, well, the values for quarterbacks later is great. Josh Allen explodes past everybody. Jalen Hurts was an absolute monster last year. Jalen Hurts, listen to Hurts, QB 19 in week 1. Him and Allen and Lamar and Dak all started off horrible. Week 1, I don't know if you remember week 1 of 2023 last year. The QBs all had a flat week 1. We were like, what in the hell happened to week 1? It was a disaster. Josh Allen was QB 20. Jalen Hurts was QB 19. Lamar Jackson was QB 27. Dak Prescott was QB 29. Stroud was QB 22. And Patrick Mahomes was QB 7 that week. But that was a crazy week. Burrow was QB 31. Week 1 was like doomsday for quarterbacks. But listen to Hurts. QB 19 in week 1. Then QB 4, QB 9, QB 6, QB 3, QB 2, QB 5, QB 5, QB 3. That's crazy. He's greenlit top 10 the entirety of weeks 2 through the bye week in week number 10. Comes back week 11. He's QB 11. Then he's QB 2, QB 6, 24, 5, 10, and 33. But who cares about week 18? It's like an outlier. This guy had a monster year. And the most important thing about Jalen Hurts is that he's going later than Josh Allen. And if you look at the table here, and we say to ourselves, is Josh Allen in 3 better than Hurts in 4? Probably not, especially with that data. That data is crazy. That's screaming draft me. I'm absolutely going to win you a league. Why? Because they had a horrible year. The team was falling apart, and Jalen Hurts had as good a numbers as Josh Allen, and he was so consistent. He was absolutely amazing. He was the most consistent quarterback probably in all of fantasy football. There was no more consistent quarterback than Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, and probably I would say Jalen Hurts wins the crown there. But if you're talking about Jalen Hurts falling to like here and Josh Allen going here, give me Hurts in the 4th round, and give me Hurts over a majority of all the picks that you're likely to find inside this round 4. There are players that I absolutely love. If somehow Derrick Henry fell, I'd be good with that. But I am diversifying like a madman. And Jalen Hurts in round 4 is just unbelievably crazy. Too crazy to pass up, 5 times out of 10 at least. 6 times out of 10 at least. But if we get to a point where he's snagged, or this show is mainly about, I mean, we're going to do a Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, or a Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen show. But we're kind of doing that now. But I'm here to talk about if you get past those rounds and you still need guys. Joe Burrow got injured last year, has had trouble staying healthy. Jamar Chase has had trouble staying healthy. Even when Joe Burrow played last year, he wasn't great for some of the games. If we look at Browning and Joe Burrow together, though, it's interesting data. So Joe Burrow, before he got hurt, QB 31 in week 1. It was awful. QB 21 in week 2. QB 26 in week 3. QB 28 in week 4. Joe Burrow was awful at the beginning of the year. Awful. Listen to those numbers again. 31, 21, 26, and 28. That is awful for Joe Burrow. Gets on track, QB 8, QB 14 bye week. Comes back on a tear. QB 4, QB 6, QB 7, and then he gets hurt. So what would he have done? Because QB 4, QB 6, QB 7 is a phenomenal track that he's on. And then he gets hurt. But if we look at Browning was 23 that game, but remember, he didn't get a full game. So we're going to skip that one. We're going to leave week number 11 off of Joe Burrow's log and Browning's log. So real quickly to remind you, Joe Burrow coming off the week 7 bye, QB 4, QB 6, QB 7 gets injured. Then Browning comes in. We're not including that first game. QB 18, QB 4, QB 4, QB 8, QB 21, QB 8, QB 9. So you put Browning's second half of the year together with Burrow's, bye week moving forward to the injury. The whole team was firing. It just was a matter of Joe Burrow, would have elevated this offense, I think, a little more than Browning. But Browning did pretty good in spots, obviously, in a stretch. Not spots, in a stretch of games. 4, 4, 8, 21, 8, 9. That's pretty good QBing. So Joe Burrow's a pretty good steal, but the question would be, do you like Joe Burrow at his ADP of 73 overall, or is it better to get a receiver there or a running back there, like Zamir White as an example, and get Jalen Hurts, this guaranteed, or Josh Allen, this guaranteed top 2 quarterback? It's preference, really. And as much as I love Joe Burrow, I absolutely love him. I think at the end of the day, if we look at this and we say, give me in round number 4, give me Hurts here, and the player you're getting, let's just call it Waddle, okay? So I'll write here, Hurts is what I'm getting here. Waddle is what Bob's getting in round 4. And then in round 7 or wherever I'm getting Zamir White is where this guy's going to get his quarterback. I'll get Zamir White, and instead they get Waddle, and then their quarterback would be Burrow. So that's one way to look at it. And if we're trying to go wide receiver, I guess you could say, let me look at underdog ADP and try and cook up a combination of trade that makes sense in terms of like the positions matching up. So if I go to the Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, use that link in the description. Promo code Smitty could double you up to $100 in your first deposit. Just hit that link in the description. Code Smitty gets it done as well. So if we look at wide receivers, okay, let's see where Joe Burrow is QB. He's 73 overall ADP wise. So if we go to 73 overall ADP wise, we got Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, JSN. We've got Jordan Addison. Those are all pretty damn good players. So if we go Waddle instead of Zamir White, we say, give me JSN. I honestly would rather have Hurts and JSN over Waddle and Burrow. So as much as I love Burrow, as much as I'm advocating for him in this video to be an absolute steal in this, like, this is 7, in this 7-8 round territory, we're talking about a much better value, apples for apples, taking JSN and Hurts over Waddle and Burrow. But you could argue it. And then again, at the running back position, if we're trying to look for RBs, we could say that a running back like in the 4th round would be, let's see here, Jalen Hurts' ADP is right at 36 overall. So let's go find a 36 overall running back. That's going to put us in the territory of ETN, James Cook, Rashad White. Rashad White would be a good one to use. So Hurts and White, and Burrow and 73, we said. I got to find a wide receiver in the 70. Or no, we're going to go running back. I'm sorry. Running back in the 73 territory. 73 overall puts me in a range of Monty, Connor, Ramondre, Mostert, Swift, Javonte, Benson, Kenneth Walker's a little bit higher than that, so we'll leave Kenneth Walker there. Aaron Jones. I'd rather have Stevenson and Hurts over Rachaad White and Burrow all day long. And even if we throw Henry in here, this is really good. I like both of them a lot, but I'd take Hurts Stevenson. If you don't like Stevenson, you can throw Monty in there. If you don't like Monty, you can throw in Aaron Jones. If you don't like Aaron Jones, you can throw in Najee. These are all running backs at this territory. If you don't like Najee, you can throw in a rookie running back if you want, or you might be able to, maybe be able to get Walker. At the end of the day, the argument, even though this is a sleeper quarterback show, the argument is still very strong that early quarterback, even earlier than Burrow, even earlier than Stroud, is better. The main question we get to is like, if Mahomes can be as good as the Hurts and Josh Allen's, and I think he can, that's where the real value comes into play. So for me, as much as I love the idea of Stroud in late round 5, sometimes even a little bit later, as much as I love the idea of Jordan Love in freaking what QB is he being taken as? Jordan Love is being taken as QB 9. That's ridiculous. He's great. He was top 5-6 last year. As much as I love all that, the prospects of all that, I want Hurts, Allen, and Mahomes. I just do. And I might in best ball double up and do bully quarterback, take Kyler, take a Burrow, take Burrow and Fields and Mahomes. I love that approach in best ball. But at the end of the day, I think like you give me Mahomes. I love Hurts there at 4. I do. You give me Mahomes in the middle of 5. And I give you the best looking team you could possibly build in a mock draft right now. Or a best ball draft. A real best ball draft. Because you're talking about being able to get, let's call it a JJ here, okay? You're talking about being able to get an Achane or a Barkley right here. Envision Barkley if you don't like Achane. You're talking about getting, even if you wanted to, in this territory, let's see what running back we can get in like the 30 range. If we were to go running back, we're talking about ETN being available here. Wide receivers in the 30 range. We're talking about a player like DK, Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, Neighbors, like guys like that. Tight end, you could get Laporta. And in the 4th round, you can get that Derrick Henry, as we were talking about. There's no need. This is kind of where I think the premise of the show is going to end. And I'm not saying I'm ending the show. We'll open the phone lines. But this is like where I believe I'm going to take the nail and hammer it in and kind of close this whole conversation in a way, is that this right here, I don't see a better scenario. We can map it out over and over and over, but tell me a team that's better than this. You can't, unless you don't like some of the players. So let's take Laporta out and I'm not saying DK's my favorite pick here, and Henry, take him out and put Kelsey here, and I'm not saying Kelsey's my favorite. I'm just trying to give everybody the most flexibility here. We'll go Barkley against their own rankings and likes. JJ, Barkley, DK, Kelsey, Mahomes. You don't like DK? Fine. We'll throw a... who would be going here in the third, like right around the 30, 28, 30. You could get Evans. You could get... maybe we go running back here again. And in the 30s, we're talking Jacobs. you could essentially land JJ, Barkley, Jacobs, Kelsey, Mahomes. Like whatever you like, whatever players that I rattled off that you like, insert them into each one of these rounds, and in your own mind decide what you want and go from there. But if this is like, let's say this is Debo even. Debo and go back to Henry. This is an unbelievable team. And out of all the drafts that I do, there's no team that I love more. There's no team that I love more than the Mahomes built team from round 5. If he climbed into the Hurts and Josh Allen territory, I would change my mind a little bit. I still like it, but there's no team. I can't construct a team better than a Mahomes built team. And I don't care that he struggled last year. I know what he's capable of doing, and I'll take the gamble every time. This is the best team. Back to the board real quick. I'll just say this. Fields is unbelievable value. Kyler's unbelievable value. Kyler's going at 86, 90 overall. This could be your backup quarterback. Fields is your backup quarterback, and I don't take him as your sole backup because you don't know at what point he's going to start. But Fields is so undervalued, and it's laughable all the people that act like Fields isn't going to be good in 2024, that he's a garbage quarterback. Do you know that Fields, if I sort by top 10 quarterback finishers, Fields is in the top 10. He's number 10. If I sort by 2023 top 5 finishers, Fields is number 7. Fields is in the top 10 in both top 10 in both quarterback finishers, in the top 10 and top 5 last year, with all the bad that came along with his year, his ups and downs, his horrible start. He was top 10 in both top 5 and top 10 finishes for quarterbacks. Fields is an absolute steal. So my sum total advice to anybody quarterback contemplating right now, if you're bouncing around like Bobby on this topic, this is a fantastic value. There's no doubt about it. You miss out on Mahomes, you miss out on Hurts, you miss out on Josh Allen because of best player available. Then Burrow's here to save the day in round 7, 8, wherever he's falling. You miss out on Mahomes, Hurts, and Josh Allen. Stroud's there to save the day in the late 5th round. Sometimes he falls later. Love's fantastic in the, 70s? I mean, you can't go wrong with Jordan Love at 83. 83 overall. You can't go wrong with Jordan Love and Kyler combined. You can't go wrong with JD5, Jordan Love, and Fields as a trio. And you definitely could do worse than grabbing this hidden sleeping monster giant in Justin Fields, who finished number 7 in top 5 finishes. He finished number 10 in top 10 finishes. You could do a lot worse than having this guy stashed on your bench to absolutely explode. The Grindhouse phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in. Mahomes in the 5th is hard to stack. Well, good thing stacking is not a necessity, bro. You should be taking best player available and not this whole you have to stack. This whole notion that you draft a Chase without Burrow, you can't win. It's draft the best player available while trying to also, in complicated Rubik's Cube type fashion, stack as well. And I disagree. I've stacked the hell out of Mahomes in the 5 pick. I've got Mahomes and Kelsey on about 50% of my Mahomes teams so far. So I totally disagree. Not to mention, I don't want Pacheco and Mahomes. I want the receiving department. I've got Mahomes and Hollywood Brown. How is it hard to stack Mahomes? Mahomes and Hollywood Brown, Mahomes and Kelsey are probably the easiest to stack. I don't agree with that at all. Hit me on the phone line if you want to discuss any of this, but these are values. These are all of the values, though, if you are deep diving and trying to find QBs that are tremendous value. I love Kyler. You give Kyler Murray, MHJ or Dunze or Neighbors, he's going to thrive. Love's going to do so much better than last year with Jacobs in the mix. He'll be more consistent. Burrow, it's all about staying healthy for him and Jamar Chase, so there's a risk involved, but the risk is almost mitigated to 0 at the cost of entry. The only risk is you're passing on a Hurts or a Mahomes or a potential player that could help you win a league. You're passing on them to get the other value at another position, and then you're putting all your eggs in the Joe Burrow basket, which is fun to do, and you got to do it in a league or two. Would you ever get a running back and QB from the same team, JT and R5? Sure, but it just depends. It just depends. Smitty, would you be down to wait on JD5 in a home league? I think JD5, it's not about waiting on him. It's like he's not getting drafted even remotely close to the top, 12 or 15 quarterbacks. So, like, you're waiting on him by default, de facto. He's not a starter. He's a guy that could rise into being the AR5 that puts your QB on the bench mid-season. But you're not drafting him as a starter. So you are waiting on him 100% every time. But I love JD5 on all my redraft teams because I believe he will become potentially the next Lamar Jackson in his rookie year. It's just a matter of, like, you can't bank on that. You've got to hope for that. And he's built to be able to purchase at a price that makes sense to not have to count on it. AR5 climbed really high. JD5 could climb like AR5 did in the 11th hour in August and early September, where JD5 is going around 6 or 7. It's certainly possible. Mahomes and Kelsey both go round 1 in my league. I don't know what league you play in, James. That's crazy. You're in a local KC league or something. Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate you. Theo says just traded Herbert and the 1.2 for Josh Allen and the 1.5. If it's Superflex, I love it. You're still going to potentially get a Doomsday at 5 anyway. I love it. You'll get Bowers at the very least. I'd take Josh Allen in a Superflex in a millisecond. Herbert's light years behind him fantasy-wise in a Superflex, bro. Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate you. Scotty to the moon. James says, don't sleep on Jacobs. You don't sleep on Jacobs, James. You don't tell us that. It's the reason Jacobs is on the freaking Mars man list, pal. You don't sleep on him. Where you been?
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men. The moon men.
Sorry, moon men.
Dropping loads in outer space.
Lucky here, reindeer. But yeah, Jacobs is going to explode. Love's going to be so much more consistent with really an Aaron Jones 2.0. Like a refresh, reset, younger, version of Aaron Jones, like popping off. Like, it's going to be unbelievable. Aaron Jones is going to, the new Aaron Jones, a.k.a. Jacobs, is going to do wonders for Jordan Love. Just wonders. It's going to be unbelievable. Other quarterbacks, if we take a look at this list here, I mean, this is a tough. It's tough to really say that all these quarterbacks don't have value at their ADPs, to be honest. Which is what drives a lot of people to say wait on a quarterback because there's too many values. But just because there's values doesn't mean you stray away from taking a guy. So Josh Allen at 30 overall. Doesn't matter that you can get Burrow and Dak and Love and Kyler and Brock Purdy and guys like that later. It comes down to the best player available. Is Josh Allen, who could outscore every other player in fantasy, the best player available when you're on the clock? Is Jalen Hurts the best player available at 4.2? If he's sitting there, his ADP's right at 4.1. If he's sitting there at 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, is he the best player available? Most likely he is. Most likely there's not a player that is going to take me off course of snagging Hurts in the 4th round. 4th drafted player for a guy that could be number 1 overall. And I know that all quarterbacks outscore a majority of the RBs and wide receivers, so you could say, oh, I'm getting Goff and he's the 8th highest scoring quarterback. But we're talking about night and day difference. Josh Allen and Hurts are night and day difference from everybody else. And my thinking is that Mahomes, who's going 52.9 overall, will also be night and day difference, and he will climb into the same category. Johnny Boy dropping a super, James dropping a super. Appreciate both of you coming in strong with your wads. Look at this $5 wad by Johnny Boy. He says, since we're talking QB, Smitty, I just traded the 24 1.2 and a 24 1.5 for Jalen Hurts. So 1.2 and 1.5 for Jalen Hurts and a 24 1.7. Yeah, okay. So that one, Superflex, I definitely am fine with it. Jalen Hurts is the number 1 or number 2 overall player in a Superflex draft. Startup, I love that. I get it. You're trading away a 2 and a 5, but guess what? 1.7, you still might get Brock Bowers. Or at the very, very least, you get the 4th wide receiver or the number 1 rookie running back. You're going to be fine. That's a great trade at the end of the day. Smitty approved that, regardless of people who love draft picks.
just been Smitty approved.
James, I appreciate you with this one here. Coble dropping a $5 holler. Coble to the moon. Hey, Smitty, this is off topic, but got a little behind in research due to deployment and trying to get caught up in a 14-team league. Thank you for the content. James, no problem whatsoever. Did you ask a question, though? Did I already answer? I don't know what James, if you asked a question. Maybe it was this. I never. Yeah, some people will super chat something, and it's not. The question is not in the super chat. Mahomes and Kelsey both go round one. Maybe you don't have a question, James. I don't know. James, the phone line's open if you need it. But James to the moon. Hey, Smitty, this is off topic, but I got a little behind. Okay, if you got a question, I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you. Coble dropping a 5 wad says, "What's up, Smitty? With the right supporting cast, do you think Kyler can crack the top 5 again? He rushed for tons the last time he finished there." Yeah, he could. He definitely started getting going on the ground again. That was like 30 and 40 yards a game, if I remember correctly, in the final stretch of games. So Kyler was looking good. The problem is Kyler didn't have a big weapon. And I think Kyler, who I don't believe he threw for a single 300-yard game, at least from the bye week on or from his return on, I believe he didn't throw a single 300-yard game. But Kyler did have a couple multiple touchdown games. He looked pretty good. He had some 1-touchdown games, had some INTs. I think he did good against the Eagles, if I remember correctly. Struggled against, I want to say it was the Niners. So there's a lot of up and down, to Kyler, because he came back from an ACL tear, looked pretty good, but had zero, wide receiver help for the most part comparatively to previous years that you're talking about. So you give him MHJ or Adunze or Neighbors, I don't know what to expect. I certainly think he's going to explode from this 86 overall value, and he's going to probably be right around this Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson, Mahomes territory. I think you really could dance around there all year. Do I think he's ever going to be 1, 2, or 3, or 4? Maybe 4 here or there, 1 year out of every 4. He could crack that and then fall back out. I don't think he's consistently going to be there like Josh Allen, Hurts, and Mahomes, and probably Stroud and Lamar. AR5, he runs a lot, so will he be up there but get hurt every 2 or 3 years? Probably. Joe Burrow's got to prove to stay healthy. It really comes down to me. It's Josh Allen, Hurts, and Mahomes. And then it's like Stroud's right underneath those guys, but again, you look at Stroud's numbers last year, not trying to say that he should have did better. He's a rookie. But there isn't enough data at all, and there's no consistency to say he's the next Josh Allen or Hurts. There's nothing that indicates that. It's just exciting because he's such a fun, good NFL quarterback and a very good fantasy quarterback. But I think people get a little carried away, assuming he's going to end up being, something bigger than he is. I think he needs to stay in the round 5 territory. I don't think he should be climbing to the 3rd. Since we're talking QB, Smitty, I just traded the 24 1.1. I already got to that one. Thank you, Johnny Boy. Appreciate you. Cobo, thank you, my guy. Appreciate your super chat. James coming in strong with another $2 wad. Says, no question, just dropping love. James to the moon. No, we'll send James to Saturn.
To Saturn.
James, appreciate you. I got you, pal. You've been deployed. Appreciate your service, number 1. James to Saturn one more time for serving. He's been deployed, and he needs our assistance. So, James, we're here for you. The phone line's open. If you need anything, I'm here. Matt Biaggia is on the line. You're live, Biaggia. And just because you've said Bijan's name wrong for so long, can you say his name? Do you know his name now?
It is Bijan Robinson.
It's still a little bit of a twang.
This is where I come to learn about my fantasy.
Still a little bit of a twang to it.
It's Bijan. What do you want? Okay. Is it my Midwest?
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
Accent? I don't know.
Okay, what do you got? What do you got,
Bijan? Totally agree on your quarterbacks. I love pretty much everything. I know you were high on Burrow and even T-Law. Do we want to jump back on them at all with their ADP dropping? And then my other question was, I know anybody that's over the age of 29, are there ever any outliers? I kind of still like Mark Andrews. I know he's going to be 29 in September. The doc gurus say his ankle is going to be good. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't think the age thing for tight ends is the same. Like, you can't use the wide receiver drop off of 30 years to 31 to indicate that a tight end's going to drop off. I think a tight end can last a little bit longer, but he struggled with injuries. Like Andrews, he's a tough guy to trust. I would say
like his ADP.
I mean, I do like his ADP, but like, at what point do you say, like, the tight end position is so deep, bro? Like, there's so much value all over the place. Let me put the ADP of tight ends on the screen. I just don't know that. I don't hate his ADP. I certainly can see a world where I'm drafting him in a couple drafts, and I already have. I know I've had him in a couple best ball, but I'll be honest with you, I don't recall having him as much as you would think. I'm thinking back, going, I haven't drafted a lot of Andrews, and let's just take a little gander why. I haven't looked at this ADP data in a bit, so maybe it's going to be surprising, but he's 54 overall. So 54 overall that's so wide receivers in the 54 overall range. We're talking about George Pickens. We're talking about potentially a Dunze. We're talking about Hollywood Brown, McLaurin. I don't mind Andrews at that territory, okay? But let's look at RBs. So Andrews at 54. So running backs at 54, we're talking about Pacheco. We're talking about Walker. We're talking about Rashad White. Sometimes ETN, Stevenson, Aaron Jones, Kamara. I don't hate that. None of these are like crazy, but I would say, like, where I probably don't draft him is because Mahomes, Stroud, Anthony Richardson are usually available when he's available. And then you look at McBride, who is only 5 spots above him. If he's ever available, I'm snagging him. If Kelsey's ever available, but they're about 10 to 11 spots apart now, but they were really close. Kincaid I like probably more than Andrews, and he's going about 5 or 6 spots behind Andrews. Kyle Pitts I like probably about the same as Andrews. George Kittle, I don't know. I worry about him, but Evan Ingram, 75 overall, Brock Bowers, 78 overall, and Njoku, 92 overall, Jake Ferguson, 93 overall, Dallas Goedert, 112 overall. Like, there's so many tight ends. I would rather risk the biscuit on going QB there or grabbing some wide receiver or running back and going later tight end shopping. Andrews, to me, is a concern. I like him a lot. Likely he's going to take a little bit of work from him. And he just can't stay healthy, or I just want to see him deliver something consistent before I'm putting a lot of value on Andrews. As far as Burrow, you asked me, do I like Burrow this year? I just talked about Burrow for like 10 or 15 minutes. So
how about Lawrence? Give me your take on him.
Trevor Lawrence, I mean, the crazy part is, like, he had such a disappointing year, but he was QB 13 in fantasy. That's not like the worst season ever, but he was so bad in the beginning of the year that we all just couldn't shake it. Like, once he got through the bye week, which was littered with horrible weeks, he was in the top 10 twice in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in the first 8 games of the season, that had a bye week in week 9. Came out with QB 31. But then he went on a little bit of a run. He was number 1 in week number 11. He was QB 6 in week number 12, and he was QB 5 in week number 13. That was back to back to back. So he's always shown promise, man. And then he was 11. He's QB 11. So 1, 6, 5, 11. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good run.
Yeah, I love ADP. I like his ADP.
But here's again the rub is, like, I mean, do you need him? Do you need to take a gamble on him when you're looking at Mahomes always in round 5, AR5 always in round 5, 5.5, 6, Burrow always in round 7 and beyond? Dak Prescott finished QB 3 or 4, depending on your scoring, is sitting here behind those guys. Jordan Love's behind those guys. Kyler Murray's behind those guys. And you don't even see T-Law on this ADP ranking. So, like, at the end of the day,
just for best ball.
Yeah. So
for redraft,
right, for best ball or for a backup quarterback to surprise if your QB goes down or something, sure. But there's no way in hell I can condone starting a Caleb, a Tua, a Trevor Lawrence when you have this many amazing options available and so many like gateways of getting this quarterback or jump points off of like your draft plan and go, oh, here's Mahomes is sitting there. I'm going Mahomes. I didn't want to go quarterback here, but he's sitting there. Okay, I missed on Mahomes. Stroud's here. AR5's here. AR5. How many? We got to have some shares of AR5. AR5 is going to have a fantastic year. He's on the... Do I have him on the Saturn men list? I think I do.
The Saturn men.
One small step for
You know,
man.
I'm not saying this because I don't love AR5, but I could see myself moving AR5 to the Mars man list and making another Saturn man. I don't know. I don't like that the Saturn man list is full. And he's the only one that I don't feel that disrespectful taking him and putting him on the Mars man list. Mainly because, I don't know.
Injuries.
In the Moon Man, we got, who do we have on the Moon Man list? Let me go back to the moon.
And off he goes
That's the
to
wrong.
the planet.
The moon
That's the
man.
wrong list.
Drop.
Mars
He's on
Man.
a shuttle to Mars. Mars man.
You know what's crazy?
Dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
The most value out of all of the boards, Mars Men list, Saturn Men list, and Moon Man list, the
AR5.
biggest value in fantasy is Mahomes. And there's just no arguing it. And he's going 5.4. It's crazy that the biggest name, the most popular guy in football, is the best value in fantasy. And he's almost Saturn Man material. Like, if I had to nudge someone over to the Saturn Man list to replace AR5, it's probably Mahomes. And I'll probably do a show on it. And it might, in retrospect, in hindsight or after the fact, I'm going to get no respect on this call. Everyone's going to go, oh, you, like, if someone said, hey, he landed the Saturn Man list, like Mahomes was absolute fire. No one's going to remember this story the way that it went. Everyone's going to go, well, that was easy to see coming. He's Patrick Mahomes. How can a guy be bold? Oh, yeah, your content creator that you use, your special source, Smitty, he called Mahomes to be a Saturn man. It's going to be laughed at later on. But right now, he's going in round 5. He's going at 5.4. I don't want to hear he's not the best value on the entire board. He is. He's better than any other Saturn man. 5.4 is crazy. Even if he has a crappy season, he's going to earn 5.4 ADP. You're at worst case washing your hands clean, and it's a wash, and you're like, damn it, I got 5th round value out of Mahomes. He crapped the bed.
He's going to get a
worst
rookie
case
wide
scenario.
receiver.
That's
for
your worst
sure,
case.
too. They're going to draft a wide receiver, right, Smitty?
I believe they will.
Yeah.
I got Cole.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All right, later, Biaggia. Matt
Bye.
Biaggia, everybody. I got Coble dropping a $20 wad. I got James coming in with another 5 that says, can't use the phone, but quick question. I know it's always best player available, but is there anything different this year? Deeper at wide receiver or running back, best in round 1? It's always going to be best player available, but that's like the entry point to your strategy. Once you do that, you might go running back. You might go wide receiver. You might go hero running back. You might go zero running back. So at the end of the day, like, you're going to be doing a sub strategy off of best player available, but you got to let best player available guide you into whatever avenue you're taking. But if I was to give you one strategy that in general I would like you to try and deploy, and then best player available should derail you if it's not going to work, right, is Hero RB. Hero RB is the best default strategy to take. That means that in my definition of it, early Hero RB, there's a 3rd round Hero RB, 2nd round Hero RB, and 1st round Hero RB strategy that I can give you. And I could even go 4th round Hero RB. Hero RB is taking one running back and then stockpiling everything else until you get into the later rounds. And some people might say the later rounds, it's deep enough to get to round 6 before I start getting running backs, or round 7. You don't have to take it to round 10 or anything. You can do whatever you want. But Hero RB in round 1 would be like getting Bijan and then going wide receiver, Hurts, maybe Laporta falls here and you get lucky, you get Hurts right here. You get, if it's not Bijan, let's say you got a late first-round pick here to match up with these two picks here. Maybe right here you're taking Gibbs and G. Will. So you got Gibbs and G. Will. You've got Jalen Hurts. And let's say, Laporta or whatever, or you can get Kelsey and Mahomes. And then even in round 5, you're probably going wide receiver or something versus getting that RB. And then later on for RBs, you're getting all the rookies. You're getting a Zamir White. You're getting a stockpile. That's what I would recommend doing if I was you, is to potentially try to go hero RB, but make sure you give yourself a way out. Don't lock yourself in. If something opens up, start going running back again. Don't let it, don't say, I decided not to go RB, but God, he looks good right here. I got to pass on him. No, you take the player, you abort the mission. Coble with the $20 hauler. Coble to the moon.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Coble, appreciate you, my guy. Are you doing any live draft coverage next week? We'll be live the entirety of Thursday, round 1. We'll be live probably an hour or two before. I'll be doing some announcements on it, and then I'll be live probably not the entirety of round Friday. I'll be live on and off, I think, on different things, creating content and putting, not only doing like 1 or 2 lives, but probably doing a Dynasty show live, doing a main show live. Potentially being live during the Friday part of the draft. I don't know yet, but Thursday we'll be live the entirety of round 1, and probably an hour or maybe more after, and probably an hour, or 2 before. So it'll be a long stream. Coble, appreciate your $20 hauler. You're an absolute magician with the super chats, my man. You are the man, the myth, the legend. I traded for Lawrence in Dynasty fairly recently. I believe in him, says Lucas. I don't hate him. I think he left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. The milk definitely got spoiled, but he did finish as a top 13 quarterback. So, and there was potential. He, like I said, he had about 4 games in a row after the bye week near the end of the year where he was a top 11 quarterback for 4 straight weeks, and he did pretty good. But, kind of a wait and see. I blame the situation, but you can't separate situation from player, so it's not like I don't know, it's not like you can blame him, but it doesn't matter because his situation, it is what it is. I don't know that it's going to turn into something glorious. It's going to probably be very inconsistent for him. But moral of the story here, and you'll probably get another video on it when we vault Mahomes to the Saturn Man list. And this is not to take away from AR5.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
It's not to take away from AR5.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men. Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
I just think this is a little bit more fitting, given that, how can I have AR5 on the Saturn Men list and not Mahomes when I'm drafting Mahomes over AR5 9 or 8, 10 times out of 10? So I can't in good conscience, keep Mahomes on the Mars Men list.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
It just doesn't make sense.
Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
Spaceman. Spaceman.
It just doesn't make any sense. Those of you here right now have the luxury of seeing this live. We're going to do a show on it, so some people won't see it coming. Other people will have seen it like you guys, and you'll know what we're talking about. But Mahomes is switching spots with AR5. It's not a demotion of any means. It's just a matter of like the value's there for Mahomes. The value's just there for Mahomes. It's a fantastic value. It's unbelievable. Could JD5 also be moved from this list to the Mars Man list just to open up one more Saturn Man spot to kind of keep this more about the big name heavy hitters, top 2-round players that we trust the most? It's kind of what the Saturn Men list is kind of about, is like the heavy hitter group. Who are we trusting of the top heavy hitters? Because sometimes it's hard to know who to trust in the top heavy hitter group. You know, it's not like it's always easy to tell. James, appreciate you. Thanks for your super chats, my guy. Mahomes' stats are last year were not round 5. He wasn't even top 10. Okay. Well, good thing. Good thing. Tell everybody. Tell everyone. That's kind of the point, bro. That is kind of the point. Smitty, would you go Herbert or JD5 this year in best ball? Probably. I mean, Herbert could be safer, but JD5's got higher upside. Much higher upside. In your opinion, let's see here. Aldi says, yo, Smitty, I made the Bears organization comment last night. I was just asking you that because you said repeatedly not to trust the Bears with Caleb, but I have the 1.1 and I'm not sure who to take. Well, you know I would not take Caleb, that's for sure. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is still my number 1 in a Superflex, but everybody's quarterback situation is different, and if you need a quarterback badly, you kind of got to go QB. If you trust Caleb, do it, but Caleb, I wouldn't even take Caleb second. I wouldn't even take Caleb as the 3rd drafted quarterback in a Superflex. I would not take him. He's not even in my top 3. So I certainly wouldn't take him over Harrison Jr., Neighbors, or Adunze. I have Caleb behind all those guys. I have Penix Jr. ahead of him. We'll have to see on landing spots if Drake May gets in the mix at the 2 or 3. We'll find out. Certainly think that Bo Nix is the forgotten man. Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. And if Bo Nix ends up going to the Raiders or the Vikings, then Bo Nix is all of a sudden back on the map. And that's a quarterback that's been my 3 the entirety of the offseason. And everybody's going to circle around and want to talk about Bo Nix. We need to talk about Bo Nix more because he is my QB3. Caleb's not my QB3. He's not my QB2, and he's certainly not my QB1. It's JD5, Penix Jr., and Bo Nix. It's been that way the entirety of the offseason. I love Bo Nix. I think he's got tons of upside. He deserves more coverage. He deserves to be talked about, and he deserves a home like Minnesota that hands him JJ or LV that hands him Pierce and also Devontae Adams. I want him to have a good coach that believes in him and has some grit and determination to get him some weapons. I wouldn't trade out of the 1.1 necessarily. If you can trade into the 1.2, Aldi, and get your JD5 or Marvin Harrison Jr. or whatever, I'm all about that, but there's no way in hell I'm taking Caleb personally. Mike P says, I'm in a Superflex and I have the 1.1. My QBs are Stroud, Russell Wilson, AR, Levis. Wide receivers are London, Tank Dell, Pickens, and Keenan. Considering going with Marvin. So you got the 1.1? Okay. Yeah, I mean, you got good enough quarterbacks. I wouldn't force it, man. I'm not going to take a QB in that situation. Again, Superflex is different than mandatory QB. So, you know, you could ask yourself, is Marvin Harrison Jr. better to start in your Superflex over a quarterback that you're kind of wondering if you've got the right guy or not? You know, if you feel strongly about Caleb, which I don't, or JD5, which I could, and we need landing spots, man. We need landing spots. Like, what if the Vikings trade up for JD5? What if the Washington Commander rumors about them maybe looking at May all of a sudden, what if those were true? I don't think they are, but what if they're true? Then May goes 2, And the Patriots will probably not trade that 3 pick. But what if they traded it preemptively and didn't know that it was going to go down like this? And all of a sudden, Minnesota, they give their 11 and 23 before the draft begins. They give their 11 and 23 for the number 3 overall. And then Washington surprises everybody. And New England goes, damn it, we could have got JD5. But they don't have the pick anymore. It's Minnesota. What if JD5 goes to Minnesota? Guess what? JD5 is probably my number 1 overall pick in Superflex. It's going to be very landing spot dependent. It always will be. So make sure you know that. Let's see here. I think let's see here. New England could take Marvin Harrison Jr. It's possible, but I don't get the sense that they're going to. Travis thinks they won't make any preemptive trade. They'll wait. I think you're probably right. AR5 top 5 is the reason he's on our list, bro. I'm moving him to the Marsman list, which doesn't demote him or anything. He's still, he's top 5, 6 bound.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
But special announcement that all of you have seen already. I'm not going to mention it again, but we'll be announcing another Saturn man. I may move JD5 to the Mars man just to open up another Saturn spot, just because there's going to be another player that I want to tout to the tune of a Saturn man. Who will it be? Good God, I don't know. Looking at it, it's so tough. It's so tough. We got Kyron, we got Gibbs, we need to put Marvin Harrison Jr. on the Mars man list. That probably needs to happen right now. He deserves it. Let's put him on the Mars man.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men. Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
Marvin Harrison, he's going to the moon no matter what. He's still a good value. There's no shame in taking Marvin Harrison Jr. As your second drafted player in redraft. Let's put MHJ on here. I'll put Harrison Jr. There we go. Attaboy Marvin. It's been long overdue anyway. He needs to be on this list. I don't want to put him on the Saturn man list because I don't know. I'm not sure yet who's going to be the Saturn man. If I do move someone, could be like Barkley. Like Barkley could crack the Saturn man list, or he's at least going to be on the Mars man list at some point. Barkley's got to make it. Jacobs, we have already. I don't think we have Barkley on yet. Barkley, H-Han's on there. Debo I love, but we're probably not going to roll with Debo. I think, Jacobs is on there. Let's see, Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen will probably be a Mars man, or at least a Mars man. He's still great value. Hurts will probably be a Mars man. At the end of the day, Hurts will probably make it. Allen will make it. Barkley. Kincaid could be on there. McBride's already on it. And McBride's been on it when he was a value. McBride's climbed. Like, we had McBride on the Marsman list when he was going in like I want to say the 60s, late 60s. Jaden Reed I like a lot, but he probably won't crack it. We got Hollywood on the mid-season monster list. Kenneth Walker could be a mid-season monster. I'm going to put Walker up here for the mid-season monster, potentially. He's hard to trust, but you get Walker and Sharps together as a cuff, it's pretty awesome. Especially at the value. We're talking about like 65 to 70 overall is where you got to start grabbing one of them and then grab the other one. Pickens, I love. I could definitely see him getting on a list. I don't know. Dell, we love Dell, but I don't know that Dell's in the value range to draft him again, not necessarily to steal him away. Waddle, no thank you. Pittman, no thank you. Henry, I mean, Henry's a pretty good value at 32 overall. I'll put him on here just to kick it around. You know, we have a mid-season monster list. Maybe we need an early performing but then sell mid-season list like Henry. That could be a good one. We might need that. Like Debo. Debo should tear it up, but then you sell him. So Henry and Debo on like their own new list of early season, you know, slapping. They're gonna slap early, and then maybe fall off potentially, or they could. Drake London, it sucks. He's on the Mars man list, but he's like going so high now. We almost have to put like a mission complete next to it for those that took advantage of it while it was there. I think we're pretty good. I think that's a pretty good feel of like, if anybody wants to know where I'm headed, is like Hurts, Allen, Barkley. Mahomes is going on the Saturn man list. He's already there right now. You watch me do it live. I love Cooper Kupp as a value this year, even though there's some risk, obviously. But the fact that Cooper Kupp is such a late pick right now. I mean, Kupp is going round 4, and I've seen him. I've taken him in 5. Keenan Allen, no thank you. DeAndre Swift is on the bust list. We should have a bust. We're gonna have a bust list. We have the Planet Uranus list, but that's more for like character reasons. We need like an all bust list, and Swift would probably be on it. I'll put Swift on the board here. Swift and Gus Edwards are probably the 2 biggest running back potential busts for 2024 that you can find. Keenan Allen potentially at wide receiver. Rashad White, I like him, but I mean, we don't know. He seems one of the more vulnerable running backs to the rookie running back class. Mostert could bust, sure. I mean, he's like 85 years old. When are we getting sleepers? We only talk about first and second round picks. Not true. Not true, Prime. Literally just got done talking about how Mahomes in the 5th round wins you a league. We literally talk about, you've got a list full of players, bro.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
3rd round steal. Late round steal. 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 I mean, what are you talking about? Achane a bust this year? Yeah, John. That's exactly why we spend so much time talking about him. John, tell everybody you can that he's gonna bust this year, please. I hope you got like a big reach. I hope you don't have like 4 people you can tell, John. I hope you can tell hundreds and thousands of people. It would make my day. All right. 187 of you in here. 125 from YouTube. Please punch that thumb up button. We got 70 thumbs up. We could use some more. We got 125 eyeballs in here. 62 from Twitter. Appreciate you all. How do I feel about Pickens? I love him. I'm a little worried about his diva mentality, but I do love him. I love that Fields is there, but I don't know if I'm putting him on a list yet. I think I'm just optimistic for him. Not everybody I like has to be on the Mars man, Moon man, and So, we'll see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you all. AR5 to the moon, JD5 to the moon, HN to the moon. Do it live. See you all probably tonight for another stream.
There are 2 5s? JD5? AR5? There can't be.
Oh no. They're gonna cross streams.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday, live when big news breaks. See you all tonight, probably for some sort of news show, and then I'm going to try and do a Dynasty show as well. Appreciate you all. Also, why did this pop up? Meant to hit this one. Also, Fields. Hey, wonder where Fields is going to go. Let's go back in time. Could he go to the Vikings? Could he go to the Steelers? Could he go to the Commanders? Damn Fields. He's going to rise up in Pittsburgh. You watch. On that note,
leave it on the fields.
Just in time.
Fields of dreams.
Fields like making love.
Outstanding in his fields.
Fields so good.
Fields general.
My field's good. Uneven playing fields.
Battlefields tested.
Fields. Fields. He's for reals.
All right. See you all later. Appreciate you.
Get breached.